we were first-year college students then, and our National Vocation Director, before bringing us to Baguio, brought us here para ipakita in the museum. I saw the Black Virgin above. It was love at first time. And since then, I have always been very interested in this Black Virgin, this small Black Virgin. And when we were studying here, she has always been my source of refuge and strength. Every time mahirap yung examinations, doon ako sa loob ng museum, doon nagdadasal. Before our presentation of the thesis, final thesis defense, I was there, hours and hours in front of that image. Alam mo, if that image of the Blessed Mother could speak, she would tell you all my problems and concerns. I posted a photograph of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Nakasulat doon, the original image of Nuestra Señora de la Salud, now in the Recoleto's Museum. And I was so shocked because I was flooded with many, many questions other than being ridiculed. Sabi nila, sinungaling ka kasi that's not true, sila na yun. So, because of the many questions that they asked me through emails, we made some research. Gumawa kami ng research. Gumawa kami ng mga research. We looked into the documents for private use. The original intention of this is for me and for my friends who would be asking a lot of questions. And one of the very common questions would be, sino sila Salud? The students of our school in San Jose, they would be asking, is she the mother of Rene Salud? Talaga naman kasi, mama pa siya ni Rene Salud. Sino sila Salud? Ang dami namin naririnig, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Nuestra Señora del Carmen, Our Lady of Lourdes, and many others. Pero sa Salud, wala. They haven't heard of it. Is she the mother of Rene Salud? Salud, yung kusinera namin, si Salud, pero Nuestra Señora de la Salud, have not heard of that. So, that's what I'm going to talk about. The devotion to Nuestra Señora de la Salud is actually based on that small image na dun sa taas, dun sa museum, nasa gitna. That's the original image of Nuestra Señora de la Salud brought by the Recoletos to the Philippines. That image originally came from this place, Mexico, Puebla, Mexico. That's the original convent. Carmel. It came from the Viscount Carmelite Knights of Mexico. Before they gave this image, they also gave another image. The original image, the first image of Our Lady of Mount Carmel in the Philippines, enshrined ngayon, nandyan sa Tibaste. This, according to the documents, would be the second image coming from that convent. That is the exact address. 8 Oriente, number 16, Puebla, Mexico. Dati, it was named as Convento de San Jose. Ngayon, Santa Teresa. Actually, the documents did not specifically mention that. Yan. No, they did not. But, based on what we have researched, this is the only convent that is housed in 1630s. So, wala nang iba. Kasi this is the place where the Recoletos usually stay. From Spain, mula sila Mexico, dahil walang hotel sa Mexico, they will be staying with the nuns. And the nuns gave them that image. Since there is no other viscount's Carmelite nuns monastery in 1630s, except this one, then that would be the one na convent na nagbigay image. Okay. This will be the present nuns. Ito yung present chapel ng Convento de San Jose. Ito yung present cloister nila. So that's how it would be. That image, also, the documents will not say this, but in 1634, that would be the 7th batch of the OAR missionaries in the Philippines. 7th batch. Ang pangalan ng leader nila, si Fray Pedro de la Resurrection. Sabi nun na, well, that's according to some imagination of an artist. That's how we would look like. Together with these companions, they composed the 7th OAR batch ng missionaries to the Philippines. Leader nila, si Fray Pedro de la Resurrection. Okay. Itong image na ito was given to them in 1333, and they traveled to the Philippines. So they arrived here from Mexico, Acapulco, to the Philippines in 1634. 1634. And so that would make the image would be around 380 plus years old. Mas o menos, that will be around 400 years old image. The original image that's upstairs is 400 years old. Wala pang Quezon City noon. Wala pang Mira Nila. Andyan na. Ang Nuestra Señora de la Salud. Wala pang mga lola-lolo ninyo. Andyan na. Ang Nuestra Señora de la Salud. The Nuestra Señora de la Salud, though it came from Mexico, there are some hush-hush that it actually came from the Philippines. It actually came from the Philippines. Ang original image which is upstairs is actually made of ivory. Ang kamay and the baby Jesus. Unique ang Virgin Mary nito kasi it's a lot of, ang composition ng image is composed of different materials. May metal, may precious stones, may kahoy, may ivory, and many others. Yung ivory pieces, yung kamay at sa ninyo, would not come from Mexico. Because there is no ivory in Mexico. In fact, the ivory carving tradition in Mexico will only happen in 1700s. Kung meron pa silang ivory carvings doon, yung bola ni marfil, maliliit na bilog, tapos may mga maliliit na mga miniature na designs doon sa loob. Religious depictions like the Buen, Assumption, maliliit. But yung pieces ng ivory, they don't have that. Ang ivory carvings would only come from three places: China, India, and the Philippines. And most probably, those ivory pieces came from the Philippines. They brought it to Mexico through the Gallian trade, assembled in Mexico, brought back to the Philippines. In other words, parang OFW. Umalis sa Pilipinas, stay abroad, and bumalik. Though there is we don't have a record for that, but it's very big possibility. At least, I can say, it would come from Asia. At least the ivory pieces. Sure ako yan. Kasi in Mexico, walang ivory. Okay. Why is it called La Salud? Somebody asked kanina, why is that image called Nuestra Señora de la Salud? We really don't know kung ano yung title niya when she was in the Carmelite convent. We really don't know. Hindi natin alam. Pwedeng konsolasyon, pwedeng kahit ano. No? We really don't know kung bakit La Salud ang title. But you have to understand that traveling from Mexico to the Philippines at the time was very dangerous. It's not comfortable. Hindi gaya ngayon. Nag-biyahe kayo, air condition, sarap ng pagkain sa restaurant, and everything. At the time, it was not. They are confined in one place. Nagkabulutong ang isa, pulutong lahat. In fact, hindi na mamamatay during travel. It's not that easy. A document in 1647 says, it happened that during their long journey, when their lives were in great danger, on account of several occasions, on account of several occasions of storms and infirmities, kasama na siguro dyan mga pirates, they invoked her devotion and His Divine Majesty through the intercession of the Virgin, deigned to listen and answer their petitions and prayers. In short, their health was more or less okay. Infirmities, walang namatay siguro. And maybe because of that, they called her La Salud. La Salud is health. And they were healthy when they reached the Philippines. Maybe because of that, they titled her La Salud. As I said, I'm not a historian, I'm a cultural worker. And when we were in Cebu, a lot of old people also made this thought. Maybe she is called La Salud because she has a lot of jewels. Daming bato. And daming bato. This is what I learned from the old people in Cebu. Na ang mga bato daw, noong panahon, panagaw sa demonyo. It means mga shield sa mga kulang, shield sa mga curses, shield sa mga sakit. That's the reason why pala old people, every time they would go to a new town, they would always bring a bato with them. Bato. Kahit anong bato. Ruby, emerald, diamond. So that kung may somebody was bad intentions, ipakulam kayo, curse kayo, lasunin kayo, doon mapupunta sa bato. You will remain healthy. Well, that's what they told me, old people in Cebu. And maybe because of that, posible that she was called La Salud, kaya nagdamit yung bato-bato. No? You've seen it upstairs. Ang laki ng bato. Mas malaki pa kaysa mata ko. So, pwede. It could be a possible reason they were called, she's called La Salud because of that. Positivity. As I said, not a historian, hindi ako nag-research ito, they're just things that I pick up from the people who were going around. Who were her first devotees? This is very, very something unique. According to a document, which says here, in 1647, the superiors decided to place the image in a convent of Bagong Bayan, where it is venerated with reverence by the faithful, and visited particularly by the natives. 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 This is what I learned from my professor in history, that we're not old Filipinos. Ang mga Filipinos daw, according to my professor in history, are those mga Espanyoles who are born here. Yung mga Espanyoles who came from Spain are the Spaniards. Yung mga pure-blooded Espanyol na pinanganak dito are the Filipinos. Yung mga may mixed race are the mestizos. Ayun daw ang tawag sa ating natives, Indios. Another probable reason is this. This is Intramuros, the original church of the Virgin Mary, when she was enshrined in her first church. It was in San Juan de Bagumbayan. The first convent of the Recollects, the first church of the Recollects in the Philippines. That's where the Father Provincial used to stay. Ito yung Intramuros. Yan yung sa Bagumbayan. This is also what I learned from a history. That the Intramuros is a walled city, okay, Intramuros. And since this is a walled city, just like any gates, it will be open and it will be closed. Sa umaga, it will be open. Sa gabi, sasarado. Most of the naturales are not allowed inside. Ang nandun sa loob, mestizos, mga Filipinos, mga Espanyoles, and a few naturales will be the house help. But most of the naturales, the natives, fuera sa labas kayo. And so, pag nagsarado na kayo sa Intramuros, where would the people go? Simbahan sa San Juan de Bagumbayan. And the simbahan sa San Juan de Bagumbayan is the Church of the Blessed Virgin Mary de la Salud. Kaya nung pumupunta ang Pilipino. That's the reason why, siguro, her first devotees were Filipinos, natives, like us, brown race. This is the old map, and this is the exact location now. Para malagay sa perspective nyo. This is the Manila Hotel. Then yung Intramuros, then yung Pagnibuhos. That's the planetarium. The Japanese garden. That's the exact location of the San Juan de Bagumbayan. That's the original church of Nuestra Señora de la Salud. Yan area na. So familiar, no? Familiar with it. So you'll be passing through that. Papunta kayo National Museum, papuntang SM, Manila City Mall, ito papuntang San Sebastian, yung area niya. That's the original location of the Church of San Juan de Bagumbayan, where the Nuestra Señora de la Salud. Okay, so how famous? How famous was the devotion to La Salud? A document in 1664 by Fray Andres says, thus, the fitting reverence to that image increased until it became one of the greatest in the Philippines. One of the greatest. Sikat na sikat pala ito noong 1664. 1664. One of the greatest in 1664. So what are the proofs? Number one, in a document in 1664, nagsasabi doon, her altar in San Juan de Bagumbayan was filled with golden and silver ex-votos. Ngayon, when we receive blessing and grace from God, what do we usually do? Pag pumasa ka sa board exam ka, ano gagawin mo? Dudunin. Ikaw, Brad, pag pumasa ka sa exam, ano gagawin mo? Dudunin? Pamisa. Normally ngayon, pamisa. Birthday, Thanksgiving. Nanalo sa loto, pamisa. They don't do that before. They don't do that. Before they don't do that. What they would usually do, if they would receive a blessing, they will ask a craftsman to craft a representation of the blessing that they receive from silver or gold. Tapos, yung maliit na representation na yun, dadalhin nila sa church, either they'll place it on the stampo or they place it on the wall. That's how they say their thank you. Example, yan, mata, siguro nag-sore eyes yan. Tapos bumalik, nagpagawa ngayon ng silver dahil siguro na mata. Ito siguro, kamay, right siguro ito, parang sa lang. Tapos bumalik, so nagpagawa ng silver na kamay as a representation of the grace that we receive. Ito, a church in Italy, St. Muscati, yung wall niya full of ex-votos. That's how our forefathers would say thank you. So just imagine her altar in San Juan de Bagumbayan was filled with silver and golden ex-votos. Puno yung altar niya. In other words, ang daming taong pumupunta. But remember, the ex-votos, the gifts, ay na ginagawa noong unang panahon. They still do that now, until now. If you would go to Ilocos, Santa Maria, Santa Lucia, you have the small image of Santa Lucia, Apo Bakit. And if you would notice, her dress is full of silver ex-votos. Yung mga mata, utak. That's how they usually do. Siguro yung utak, kung namatalin mo siguro, right? Yes, nakapasa ako. Yung 1647, it is certainly the image that has more devotees in the entire island. More devotees in the entire island. In other words, more than the Santo Niño, more than the Quiapo, more than the Antipolo, more than the Langabal, more than the Viña Francia, siya ang maraming devotos. At least in 1647. In that way. For, as it is said, the procession is one of the best functions that are seen in the Philippines. Ang kanyang procession, pinakagaluso, pinakamaganda, pinakagalante, pinakabungga at the time. The documents found here, andito, you can buy this book, mura lang. There will be 1,000 na mga cantos. So that will be around 2,500 na. Not counting the children, the mga angels, the devotees. So there will be around 3,000 to 4,000 people joining their procession. 3,000 to 4,000. Ba yan? Konti. So konti. But you have to understand that that is 1664. That's 1664. I did a note here. In 1600s, the statistics in the greater area of Manila, as far as Cavite, as far as Antipolo, as far as Binondo, Tondo, Binondo area, dito, Santa Cruz, itong mga area ng Manila, in 1600s, would only have a population of 5,500. Oh, excuse me. 25,000. 25,000. If you would have at least 3,000 for the procession, that's more or less 1/4 of the whole population. Ang daming tao eh. Ayan procession is one of the best functions they see in the Philippines. Ang daming tao talaga pumunta. These are not based on documents or these are what we propose. Ako and some of the fathers whom I discussed, and dito yan sa introduction ng libro, these are the probable reasons why the devotion got lost. There are actually 4 reasons, actually 5. And 1, 2, Sa apat na reasons, may dahilan yan na correct fathers. Maraming talaga sa lahat ng mga pare. First is the loss of our shrine. Ang unang shrine na San Juan de Pagbabayan. During the Chinese Revolution, they transferred it sa Intramuros to keep it safe. And then in 1641, dinabas ulit kasi tapos ng Chinese Revolution. And then in 1644, they transferred it into Intramuros because of the Dutch invasion. And then, in 1737, dahil binalik nila ulit sa San Juan de Pagbabayan, outside Manila, Intramuros. And then in 1762, they transferred it again to Intramuros because of the British invasion. And then, in 1945, they transferred it to San Sebastian kasi nabawang yung simbahan niya. And then in 1970, they transferred it in Quezon City sa Provincial House. And then, in 1988, they transferred it to the chapel there in Mira Nila. And then, in 1989, they transferred it to the museum. In short, there are 10 transfers and 6 shrines. And because of this numerous transfers, the devotees lost track of the images whereabouts. Precisely. Ito, ang turo sa akin ng mga kaibigan kong in-check. Father, kung may negosyo ka, at pag nag-click, don't ever transfer. Transfer of feast days. Her original feast day was the 3rd Friday of Buen. Kaya nga, sabi ko, ang daming mga flagellants. No? Kasi 3rd Friday of Buen. 3rd Friday of Buen, so ang dami naging penitensya. No? So, ang daming flagellants, ang daming mga kanila, because it's 3rd Friday of Buen. And then out of the blue, maybe nakalulok ng daga ang mga pare, they transferred it to April 28 for a reason which maybe not. Hindi naman mahanap-hanap, diba? They transferred it to April 28. Hindi na rin alam. And then, napraning na naman yung mga fathers. They transferred it yun, Saturday, nearest March 19. St. Joseph. Dahil ang Arch Confraternity of San Jose is in San Nicolas and Trabucos. Ang malaking piyesta yun, pinag-isa na lang ng mga pari ito. Talagang mga pari nito, pinag-isa lang. Mga ayaw ng trabaho. And then, napraning na naman ng mga pari, i-transfer ito to February 11 for the Feast of the Virgin's Purification. Sa kandilang yan. And then, nakalunok na naman ang daga ang mga pare. Napraning na naman, they transferred it into November 17. The Virgin's Betrothal to St. Joseph. The fathers were never contented kung ano yung fiesta. They were not sure kung saan ilalagay, anong day. They transferred it from one day to the other. And because of that, wala nang gana ang mga people ko. Ang iba nag-fiesta sa November, iba na sa February, iba na sa Friday of Lent. Hindi kayo sabay-sabay. Fiesta kami, November! Hindi, February, fiesta natin tayo. Kaya, so di ba, mag-dubli-dubli ng gastos? Wala. There are many reasons why they transferred it. Pero yun nga, sabi nga, ng negosyo, ang mga engine, when we were in San Sebastian, during Christmas, naglalaro-laro kami ng tawag ng bingo, pag yung card mo, hindi mananalo, what we usually do is change the card. And this is really a very wonderful, magandang insight. A third reason, bakit wala ang devotion? Because of the absence of the Father Provincial. According to him, the provincial house, yung original church, San Juan de Pagbabayan, ng original church, ng mga first church of the Recoleto in the Philippines, is also the convent of the Father Provincial. The convent and the church of San Juan de Pagbabayan was last destroyed by the British. They transferred into San Nicolas. Kasama ang mga nabili. Every time lilipat sila, iskapos sila dito because of some bad things. Ang image lang ng Salud, ang dala-dala nila, then it must be very important. When the provincial now transferred here, kasama ang mga nabili. When this church was bombed in 1945, when the Father Provincial transferred here, kasama ang mga nabili. In San Sebastian. It was kept in San Sebastian. And then, in 1970, lumipat ang probinsya in Madrid. This is what he said. This is what he told me. That in 1970, the Father Provincial transferred in Madrid. Iniwan daw nila ang image ng Halloween. In any case,
From where? From where?
from San Sebastian.
No.
He was in San Sebastian, and then he transferred to Madrid. That's what Father Chicote told me.
But the Chicote is not a historian.
Yeah, ay, historia siya po eh.
Yes.
Historia po. In any case, ang point ni Father Chicote is this, that the Father Provincial and the image are supposed to be together. When the Father Provincial left for Spain, the image was left behind. And when the image was left behind, because of that, nawala daw ang devotion. Kasi, parang yung dapat kasama niya, they're not together anymore. This is also what I observed. This is what I observed. When we first tried to promote this devotion, it was 2006. Lahat ng ito, the luminarios, ito, the music and everything, was prepared 2006 pa. 2006. 2006 pa. Yan, Grand Marian Procession na yan, 2006 pa yan. Now this is what happened. This is what I observed. Last December, when we launched this book, somebody questioned in the public, where will now the image be staying? And Father Provincial said, pagkatapos ito, that goes with me back to the provincial house. Since then, nagsilabasan lahat. Lumabas yung Lubina, nagtuloy yung Karaman, lumabas ang Grand Marian Procession, and everything, sunod-sunod na ngayon. At that time, before that, walang nangyari. It was approved. My Father Darlar and Father Pankaya go ahead with the promotion, but it did not move forward. It moved forward with the image, went on with the Father Provincial and the provincial. That's the probable reason. Natama si Father Chicote. Natama si Father Chicote. Now once they are together again, the devotion will move forward. Once they are separated, it will die. A concrete observation that now that the image is with the Father Provincial, the devotion move forward. Bakit in 2006? Wala. Because though the provincial approved, the image was still here in the museum. Ngayon, na magkasama na sila doon sa provincial house, the devotion started to move forward. So yun yung point, Father Chicote, when we made some interviews. Okay. Next. This is one of the reason why the devotion to La Salud got lost. Because people thought that the image was gone during the bombing. Now, ito was written by Jaime Laya. Jaime Laya, as you know, is the Governor General of Central Activity. And a good collector of antiques, cultural heritage worker, and everything. And this is what he wrote in the book, Posisyon. Nuestra Señora de la Salud, the image was venerated at the Recoleto Mother House of 1600s. Both the church and the image were destroyed in the bombing of destroyed in the bombing of 1945. People thought it was destroyed. Akala nila nawala. And so, dahil nawala ang original image, nawala yung devotion. That's what they thought. Because Jaime Laya said so. Actually, there was another book, I guess, in terms of memory, Jaime Laya again, wrote also that information. And yung mga nagbabasa mo, wala na siguro. It was really gone. So because of that, they never bothered to look for it. But it was kept. It was one of our best kept secrets. Nahanap lang pala ang mahal na bilis nila sa loob. Because they're but you could have played Jaime Laya. A photograph of the interposed destruction was grabe. That's the church of San Nicolas. Sirang-sira talaga ang simbahan. flat, ang trapos, sira. Who would have thought that that small image was saved? Yan yung sa Nicolas, wala na yung convent, sira na. After the war, another photograph at the back portion, you'll see, talagang sira yung simbahan. We made a lot of interviews for this. We asked 4 priests. 3 rin ko patay na, old priests. Father Garnica, Father Lino, and Father Faustino. One is Father Chicote. 4 silang in-interview namin. And they have the same story. How did Salud was surviving the bombing? According to these 4 priests, I interviewed them, college pa ako noon. I interviewed them again, theologian ako noon. I interviewed them again, parang ako noon. The same story sa 4 na parang ito. Ang kwento nila is this, that the Virgin Mary, the Recollects, heard that Americans are going to bomb Interpose. So a few days before the bombing, ang mga pari daw, iskapo sila. Interpose to San Sebastian. At na-cover the darkness of the night. Nalagay ko natin na. Dala nila 3 images. Ang San Miguel, cross ng kasiguran, which is also in the museum upstairs. And the third is the image of Nuestra Señora de la Salud, carried by the Father Provincial himself. These 4 priests have the same story, and therefore, this is the oral tradition. Ito yung mga napasabasa nilang kwento na narinig nila what happened. But, when we made the research, it turned out, iba ang kwento, iba ang story. Based on the document that we've seen, the real story is this. Nagsimbahan talaga sa Nicolas, merong tinatawag na kripta. Ang kripta is this. Mga pantyon, nagyan ng mga patay, musuleyo sila. And it's made of concrete, according to the documents. And so what the fathers did, ilagay nila lahat ng mga precious items sa kripta, kasama ng mga patay. So that it will be safe the bombing. So when the Americans bombed, nasira yung simbahan, na-kripta was saved. Kasama doon, ang krus na kasiguran, at ang Nuestra Señora de la Salud. So that's the reason why the Virgin Mary was saved. Another reason why Nuestra Señora de la Salud, the devotion got lost. From 1945 until 2006, this was hidden from the public side. Nobody knew. Nandyan, kayo yung image na yan. Na nakakalam. Except some few friends of the Recollects who would visit us and would say, ano yan, yan? But a lot of Filipinos who venerated her before did not really knew that she was still present. Yung imahe.